Welcome to the RPGamer review of Mado, Monogatori, Fia, and the Wondrous Academy. This is read by Sperambress, written by Dalandar, and the video is edited by Airfrog. Comedy is extremely subjective. What make one person laugh may make another person groan. Some RPGs have comedic characters, but it is rare that this distinction is spread out over an entire title. Mado, Monogatori, Fia and the Wondrous Academy, an action dungeon crawler from developer Compile Art and Sting, look to find a way to tickle many funny bones. Every character feels like they are hand on the joke and can repeat their own brand of recognizable humor to more successful laugh throughout. That's an overall benefit, as dungeon exploration and combat are bland, which will lead to players to wish for the next hilarious story scene. Fia starts late to her first semester at the Ancient Magic Art Academy. She immediately bumps into the principal and luckily gets special accommodation to avoid taking the entrance exam. Scrambling to the opening assembly, she and her pet carbuncle set off a chain reaction of events that leads to herself and four others, Will, Lina, Eska, and Toto, being labeled as problem students. They are shuffled into the same class so the professors can keep an eye on them. Hijinks ensue during every character introduction, leading to many comedic situations with a side of magical knowledge. Serious and tender moments pop in as well, but the charismatic cast hinge on the comedic charms. This comedic charm in Mado, Monogatori, Fia and the Wondrous Academy comes from a place of repetition. While the characters grow together, their comedic thread stay the same, which leaves a lot of running jokes mixed in with the evolving plot. This runs the risk of the character quirk that grates on the player's nerves, but luckily there's fun ways that these characters get to play with their punchline to set up new and different funny situations. While many titles have a character or two for comedic relief, Mado, Monogatori reveal and having its entire cast deliver hilarious moments throughout. Mado, Monogatori, Fia and the Wondrous Academy is broken down into chapters, with each one generally consisting of the completion of a dungeon. Fia's class is also given school assignments to complete, which are a separate element of progression. Assignments provide tasks that reward new skills for Fia's grimoire, that progress the story, or unlock side quests that involve diving into previously explored dungeons. Every character gains experience to level up, with everybody but Fia obtaining skill by leveling up, which can lead to her feeling weaker in comparison. Side assignments cannot be ignored, as a chunk of them are needed for a promotion exam, which is another requirement to progress the story. The big issue is that the main story and side quest assignments aren't handed out in regular intervals, leading to Fia gaining skill much later than the rest of the party. Additional side adventure can be taken on by accepting requests from a mailbox on school grounds. These have Fia exploring enemy-filled special dungeons, revisiting regular dungeons, checking with other characters, or searching the academy. After completing an assignment or request in a dungeon, a warp leading back to the academy appears. However, it is more beneficial to accept every available quest and push through to the end of the dungeon to complete multiple at once. These quests has a reward at the time of completion and often a second one that is sent to Fia's own mailbox located in the library. Dungeons are a series of randomly generated floors with a small amount of rooms and enemies, treasure, destructible objects, and a warp to the next floor all strewn about. Destructible objects like barrels or overgrown weed often hide items or small consumables that can boost VT, health, or magic. Every action in the dungeon saps a small portion of Fia VTs. When VT is brought to zero, the party's max HP start to dwindle until either they escape or run out and become ouchies, the adorable term for injuries and death used in the game, which just send them back to the academy. Eating Curie replenish vitality and can be purchased from an infrequently appearing in-dungeon merchant or by combining ingredients through cooking. There's little worry on running out of currency, as collecting money is as simple as catching a few fish, which sell for a decent amount and can be obtained from a not too difficult minigames. Because VT can deplete fast and Curie can be difficult to keep stock of, fully exploring each dungeon floor feels like a waste of time. This is compounded by the lack of variety in items that can be collected as well. All there is to collect are healing consumables, seeds to grow ingredients for cooking, and material to make equipment. Since every seed is easily purchased from the beginning of the game and there are only 4 tiers of equipment, even a cursory search yields enough reward to deal with the enemies in each dungeon. Fighting enemies yields diminishing returns as dungeons grow longer. There are only a few enemy designs, and each introduction expands later on to include every elemental variant. In addition, combat is just incredibly basic. The party begins on one side of a circular area with enemies on the other. The time action bar fills based on the speed attribute, allowing player to use the equipped magic called Magic Art. This bar begins filled if players strike enemies in the dungeon first. Every elemental magic art spell has the same maddening radius, and a rather small circle slightly forward from Fia field of vision that is hard to judge and often see attack miss. Skill obtained from weapon are therefore more appealing as they attack target in a straight line, but Fia's weak magical strength and enemy resistance mean that they don't hit particularly hard. Mado Monogatori, Fia, and the Wondrous Academy is painfully easy. Most fights don't last longer than an attack or two, and even many bosses can be down in less than half a minute flurry. With every fight over so quickly, there is no need for strategic variety. There are magical elemental orbs that can be collected a few seconds after each magic art, which can create powerful finishing moves that are rarely used because of how fast fights end. Instead, strategy comes from managing MP and VP level outside of combat. Running around dungeon, dodging traps and enemies, while nabbing resources leads to some good moments. It is when fights see enemies become ouchies and sickened that make combat feel too passive. Fighting an enemy per floor provides enough experience to be able to take down entire groups quickly, but completely avoiding combat is practically impossible without losing some VT and MP. This is because there are traps that need to be avoided, both in the environment as well as pesky enemies that can drain MP or currency. The copious amount of experience means that even accidentally, players can gain multiple levels per run, making it even easier to avoid everything in subsequent dungeon dives. Mado, Monogatori, Fia and the Wondrous Academy is charming, and each enemy design gets a comedic moment to shine. From common enemies to bosses, everybody jump in on the fun, and there are moments where they set up joke where they themselves are the punchline. Everything is colorful and playful, and even the spooky areas the player must brave are stylized more like a kid cartoon than anything actually scary. The capable Japanese voice cast never missed a beat, combining with a whimsical soundtrack that constantly evoked the feeling of magic, matching the tone that captures a constant comedic playfulness of childhood. This wonderful soundtrack can also shift when appropriate to feeling of tenderness and tension from the serious moment that evoke memories of being a curious child reprimanded by a stern yet doting parents. There's an undertone of frustration within Mado Monogatori, Fia and the Wondrous Academy. It is a colorful, magical world with a charismatic cast of characters who has some of the best comedic situation in an RPG. Unfortunately, combat is just so basic and quick that it feels better to avoid it just to experience more of the world. Luckily, this group of colorful comedian antics are funny and charming enough that there is still a fun adventure to be had. RPGamer give Mado Monogatori, Fia and the Wondrous Academy 3 out of 5. For more detail, hit up the link in the description below. For more video content, subscribe to the channel. Follow us on Twitch for daily stream of your favorite RPGs. Join on the discussion at rpgamer.com on Discord. And for the latest in the RPG news, head over to rpgamer.com.